Hi, I'm Clare Forseth. I'm part of the Hartford, Vermont Tree Board, and I'd like to talk to you about a grant that the Tree Board was awarded in early 2024 to be completed by October 2025. And the name of the grant was Communities Caring for Canopy. The grant was awarded by the Vermont Urban and Community Forestry Program. The Urban and Community Forestry Program is actually part of the United States Department of Agriculture, their forestry program. And every state has set up an urban and community forestry program where the federal government helps them to care for the trees and the greenscape and the urban forest in communities. And it really helps communities to become more engaging their environment. The program is dedicated to improving conditions of the forest and the urban community. And our Vermont Urban and Community Forestry Program is quite active, awarding many grants to communities for many different programs helping trees and the community together. The Communities Caring for Canopy grant, it specifically wanted trees planted. And so what we looked for in our community is a place where there was an area, a park in the middle of an urban setting that was underutilized and underappreciated, and thought about planting trees that would make it feel as though it was an arboretum. This grant also is in line with the Hartford Tree Board's mission, which is to educate our community on trees. And so we felt as though if we could introduce trees that they might not ordinarily see around town, that this would help them to appreciate the community around them. We also realized that this park is bordered by two rivers, the White River and the Connecticut River, although you could not see the rivers from the park because of knotweed and other invasive plants along the riparian buffer, as well as a low tree canopy and vines that were growing into the trees and in some cases killing them. So we wanted to mitigate the knotweed, although we realize we probably will not be able to get rid of it, but mitigate that, and also to plant native trees and shrubs that will enhance the riparian buffer. The Hartford Tree Board does 2 or 3 tree identification walks each year for the community, and our last tree walk about a month and a half ago was at the Lyman Point Park, where we have planted 8 trees that the grant, along with the Parks and Recreation and the Hartford Tree Warden, allowed us to plant. And I will also show you some of the places where you could not see the river view, and now we're beginning to be able to see the lovely rivers. Okay, the tree board does tree identification walks, and when we do, we stop at each tree and talk a little bit about the tree. And this is one of our newly planted tree. You can see the wire rim around it because we have a beaver which would love this tree, which is a yellow birch. It would take this yellow birch right down. It is a native of the northeastern United States and Canada. It's also called a silver birch because of the highly ornamental bark that it will get as it gets older. Interestingly enough, if you break a twig on this yellow birch, you'll get a refreshing aroma of wintergreen. The seeds and the flowers provide nutrient for red squirrels and chickadees and ruffed grouse. And as I said, porcupines and beavers will make a meal out of the bark. Native Americans constructed baskets and trays and dishes from the bark, as well as birch bark canoes. And modern... Okay. On to another tree. This tree, although we like to plant native trees, we just thought we'd branch out. This is a Katsura tree, which maybe from the name you can imagine that it is native to China and Japan. It has lovely, delicate, heart-shaped leaves and has very bright autumn color. In the fall, because the leaves give off a scent resembling burnt brown sugar or cotton candy, it would be interesting to visit this tree in the fall. This is a Kentucky coffee tree. Again, not a native to the Northeast, but it is native to the Midwest, the Upper South, the Appalachia area, and small pockets of New York. It is an interesting tree because the bark gets very gnarly and interesting, and the leaves are they're binnately compound, which means the leaf itself has leaflets, but the leaflets also have leaflets. So when it's mature, it has very long leaves with many leaflets on it. So again, a very interesting tree that we would not probably see in the woods in Vermont. Interestingly enough, this tree has a very tough, leathery seed pod, and it also could be poisonous. And it's thought that the Kentucky coffee tree has narrowed its range because the animals nowadays can't chew through that pod to spread the seeds. But millions of years ago, animals that are extinct now had stronger jaws and bigger teeth and were able to get through to the pods and spread the seed. So although the Kentucky coffee tree could be in more areas in the United States, because the seeds are not distributed much anymore, it has concentrated in the one area in the Midwest. This is the common hackberry, and it's a tree that is dedicated to Linda Wilson, who was on the Vermont Conservation Commission for years, And it's a tree special to her heart because it has seeds and it provides food and shelter for lots of animals, and that was her main love of trees.
This is a swamp white oak.
Yes, and this is a native tree to the eastern Midwestern United States. It grows to about 50 or 80 feet. The swamp white oak actually can live up to 300 years, and it's a very important white oak for the lumber industry. We have it situated near the river, hoping it will think it's in a swamp. This is the American yellowwood, and it has very beautiful wisteria-like blossoms in the spring. The species is rare in the wild, and it's seldomly planted in yards, although it should be because it's a beautiful mid-size tree.
Why is this tree named a yellowwood?
Oh, good question. It's actually because there's a yellow dye in the heartwood, and it gives rise to its name.
In the wood?
In the heartwood, the middle of the wood.
middle of the wood.
So if you were to cut this, you'd see a yellow wood in the middle.
This is the Freeman maple.
This is an interesting tree. It's a hybrid of the red maple and the silver maple. Now, the silver maple is a fast-growing tree, and the red maple has good structure. And so you combine the two, so now you have good branch structure and a fast-growing tree. It's found in nature where you see silver maples and red maples growing very close together, but most of the trees now that are being planted are cultivars. And the reason it's called the Freeman maple is because Oliver Freeman was the first person to make the hybrid under controlled conditions in 1933. And so that's where nurseries now get their trees from the hybrid. And it's a beautiful tree in the fall, bright red leaves. Very popular now. This is a white oak, and the white oak is native to eastern and central United States, and it actually is a long-living hardwood tree that is very important to our industry. It has acorns that are just lightly brown and shiny, which gives food for the wild animals. That's the end of our little tree walk, but I did want to again thank the Vermont Urban and Community Forestry Program for allowing the town of Hartford, Vermont, to be able to enhance this park that will be enjoyed by many people in Hartford and the White River Junction immediate town. And we will enjoy the views of the river for years to come. Thank you.